Late November, and that means the Thanksgiving holidays here in the United States. Hard to believe that 2023 is beginning to reach its close. It's been snowing here past couple of days in Loveland, Colorado. Time to look back through my motorcycling magazines and plan for rides on those nice days that I know will be coming up. Yeah, we have a lot to be thankful for, don't we? This motorcycling thing that we're so crazy about, what a gift. What a gift. Maybe now's a good time to reflect back on some of the stories and interviews that we've shared these past few weeks. Seems like it wasn't that long ago when we were reflecting back on the first 20 episodes, starting with Breakfast with a Stranger on Route 66. I had no idea that conversation in Gallop, New Mexico would turn out as it did, and I will never forget that man. That was episode 1. So if this podcast is new to you, maybe start with episode 20 to hear summaries of the first 19 to give you an idea of what we've been talking about. But for today, let's talk briefly about where we've been starting with episode 21. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today. Recorded in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Welcome to Peace, Love, Moto, the podcast for motorcyclists seeking that peaceful, easy feeling as we cruise through this life together. Are you ready? Let's go! Episodes 21, 22, and 23 are all about Rocky Mountain National Park, specifically about riding a motorcycle through that area and beyond. Practical tips for your best experience by motorcycle. Now, I work part-time as a tour guide in Rocky Mountain National Park, and I just love it. I work some summer evenings and weekends for Green Jeep Tours out of Estes Park, taking tourists on 3-hour tours around what I would consider some of the most beautiful spaces on Earth. I kid you not. Well, after 300 or so tours, you learn a lot about the best times to be there and where to go. So many times in and around Rocky, I can encounter motorcycle riders who have no clue as to where to go and when to be in the national park, and it just drives me crazy because I've learned there are great places to be and great times to be there, and don't miss those. It's a wonderful opportunity. Arriving, for example, during peak season, that is a lot of traffic, and especially arriving on the holidays or on weekends and during peak season, it can really not ruin your trip, but definitely slow it down. So yeah, at least for my own satisfaction, I shared 3 episodes with details about where and when and how to have a fabulous trip on your motorcycle through Rocky Mountain National Park. Not only that, but I detailed 2 very different amazing routes that you can take on the other side of, or either side of Rocky Mountain National Park through the National Forest for an extended journey across the Continental Divide. Just having a blast. Episode 24 was a visit with Dan Cordone of Fort Collins Motorsports. Dan has a view to motorcycling that most of us just don't have. Dan shares what it's like to talk with both experienced and new motorcyclists as they're looking for their next ride or maybe their very first bike. As an experienced rider himself, Dan knows the joy of riding the right bike, the one that's the best fit for you, and he demonstrates to his customers that he cares because he tries to guide them to the safest bike and something that'll be most enjoyable for the long run. Now, I must admit that episode 25 was really special for me because after 4 months of being off the bike, recovering from a hand injury that required 2 surgeries and about 40 sessions of physical therapy, yeah, it's pretty brutal, I could finally ride again. For those who didn't know, it wasn't a motorcycle injury, nothing to brag about, but rather I'd cut my hand really badly here at home in a little accident. So yeah, episode 25, I borrowed the old Gene Autry song called Back in the Saddle again and played that. And then from there, we talked about the importance of balance, both on the motorcycle and in life, keeping things loose, and kind of use the example of riding on the dirt, how you really do have to keep things loose in order to stay riding safely out there. But we also talked about a well-balanced life and what that all may mean. Episode 26 was called Going Out to Play, and it was a lot of fun actually to create. It brought back a lot of memories from my own childhood. Maybe you too were brought up in a generation where there were no cell phones. Your friends would call you on the phone that's built into your house, and they would ask if you could come out to play, maybe ask mom or dad. And that was the beauty of this sport, isn't it? It still is. For many of us, motorcycling is just going out to play, just like we did when we were kids. When we go out for a ride, yeah, we're going out to play. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. The conclusion of that episode, I think, especially as the responsibilities of life add up, going out to play on our motorcycles is more important than ever. So yeah, maybe now more than ever, we need to go out and play. Whether it's motorcycling or whatever your hobby is, you just need time to get out, just to go have fun, just to go have a big smile on your face, to get out into nature, and just know that things are going to be okay. Episodes 27 and 28 featured an interview with Rob Hamilton, one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Rob's work is amazing. Through his very popular YouTube videos, he takes us on a motorcycle trip to visit Mother Nature at what I referred to as the speed of life. Did you catch that? I think I made that up. Maybe I heard it somewhere else, but I like the expression, the speed of life. Yeah, I like that. There's no complexity, artificial intelligence, or anything else going on in these videos. It's just Rob on his bike, maybe with a friend, and the beauty of nature. With over 177,000 YouTube subscribers and 13 million video views, Rob's moto camping videos are unlike anything, at least I've ever seen. This is art, plain and simple. A celebration of our passion for motorcycling and the wonders of nature, all without saying a word. I recorded episode 29 right after a week-long trip with my brother-in-law, Jim, where we explored southern Wyoming, then all the way down into southern Colorado. Just had a ball. We talked with a lot of people who began as strangers and quickly felt like friends after just a couple of minutes. From gas stations outside of our hotel or just wherever, because we were on motorcycles, conversations with strangers were just so easy and just so enjoyable. I shared about meeting a fellow named Fred in Durango, Colorado, an older gentleman who felt compelled to leave from where we were sitting and come back a few minutes later with pictures from back in the day when he rode his own custom Harley-Davidson chopper along the very same streets where we were at. I called this episode Motorcycling and the Kindness of Strangers because all that it took was a hello and, oh, you ride motorcycles too? And it started just an awesome conversation. What a great guy Fred was. Episode 30 was short, but I called it Think Like Your Dog. Yeah, funny enough, but I think a powerful reminder to live in the present moment just like our dogs seem to. We hear that expression all the time, but I thought referring to my own dog was a practical example. My dog, Sally, doesn't know what day it is, and she doesn't know what the future holds necessarily. And maybe she doesn't even care right now. She's pretty content to live in the moment and enjoy every second of it. Even when that enjoyment is just looking out the window and watching the birds or the squirrels out there, or when a neighbor's cat gets out, it's on the loose. In that episode, we tied this attitude back to motorcycling. Going out, sometimes with no other intention but just to be in the moment. To smile simply because riding a motorcycle is fun. And the future is uncertain, but the present we have right now, well, it's just pretty great. So maybe we need to spend just a little bit more time just out there enjoying life. Episode 31 was rather personal. I called it Riding with Your Eyes Closed. Don't let this happen to you. If you didn't hear it, I'd really appreciate it if you'd take a listen to that one. I think it's important. Episode 31. Here's what I think episode 31 meant. Maybe the message I was trying to convey was that we on our motorcycles need to be approachable. And I guess if I did anything right that day of the story that I shared, I appeared approachable. But we also need to keep our eyes open for others who may be in need of help. And they don't use those words. They don't say, I need help, but they need it. I think I missed that. I missed hearing her say that, maybe with just her way she was looking at me, way out there in the middle of nowhere. I could have helped, and I didn't. I believe that sometimes we on our motorcycles are put into situations for a reason, and if we're not paying attention, not close enough, we may miss opportunities where there's no second chance. I suppose the experience that I had, the lesson learned there, was to keep our eyes open for each and every opportunity to do something good for someone else. We need to be watching, and we need to be listening with not only our eyes and ears, but with our heart. Episodes 32 and 33 were called Views from the Saddle. It was a two-part interview with Brett and Melissa Wilson. This interview with Brett and Melissa was so much fun. I honestly didn't know what our conclusions would be. You see, they're not motorcycle riders. They ride horses. We both sit on saddles, so that's where the title came from. And I didn't realize that we would have so many aha moments, so how insightful that conversation would be. Melissa and Brett describe how it's about gratitude overall. It's about an appreciation for our ability to ride because that's what we love to do. And I think we found ourselves really amazed by all the parallels between motorcycling and horseback riding as we talked. Both transport us physically, yes, but also emotionally and even spiritually. Yeah, that one got pretty deep, and I love the direction that it went. Episodes 34 and 35 were my two-part interview with a gentleman with a depth of experience with motorcycling for sure, but he demonstrates a heart for others as well. Doug Logston is not only the state director of the Motorcycle Sport Touring Association and a certified motorcycle safety instructor, but he embodies really what this podcast is all about, a passion for motorcycling and a care for others in our community. As I described, a large credit for the idea of this podcast, Peace, Love, Moto, is due to the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, an international fundraiser for men's health issues focused on prostate cancer research and suicide prevention. This past year, I was honored to be the host of the DGR in Fort Collins, Colorado, just up the road from me. I mention this because Doug was our top fundraiser for this past year. And it was such an honor to learn from Doug in this interview what this guy's all about, why he raised that much money, why he thought it was important, and what he thinks about the motorcycling community. It's just a great conversation. I met Charlie Hanson-Reed purely by chance, way out in the middle of the forest, and I'm so glad that I did. Episode 36 is my interview with Charlie, whom after we met, I learned is the design engineer for Janus Motorcycles out of Indiana. You should see these Janus motorcycles and should see the bike that Charlie was riding that day. Completely amazing. Parts built by the local Amish community. Yeah, the same folks that ride horse and buggies for transportation. You talk about a quality machine. And yes, Charlie let me ride that Janus motorcycle. Oh man, that was cool. I'm sure you'll enjoy that conversation with Charlie back in episode 36. Episode 37 was really a lot of fun. It started off with a quote from the actor Keanu Reeves about his need to ride motorcycles. If you haven't looked that up on YouTube, you ought to. Then we talked about this slogan that I saw on a t-shirt years ago that really caught my eye. It said, "Go fast, don't die." I was loading my motorcycle onto a ferry north of Seattle, as I recall, up in the northwestern part of the United States. I was on a solo trip, and I talked with a guy who was loading his bike right next to me, and he was wearing that shirt that said, "Don't go fast, don't die." He and I agreed that slogan means live a life to the fullest and do what makes you happy whenever you can. Yes, I got my own Go Fast Don't Die t-shirt, and I made it a point to wear it when I was recording that episode. I think that episode is also about a balance in life. We have to take care of ourselves, certainly, to stay healthy as best we can. Because as I've certainly learned from my own little hand injury that kept me off the bike for so long, if you lose your health, any part of that, a lot of fun opportunities tend to fade away or just not available. And it's certainly not our choice a lot of the time when things happen to us. But health is certainly something we have to treasure. Episode 38 was based on what I think many of us believe, that riding a motorcycle is not an escape from reality at all. It's really a return to reality. This episode was a reflection on our modern world, you might say. Motorcycling is real and it's tangible, unlike virtual reality and maybe artificial intelligence that's becoming increasingly a part of our social and business world. When we go from looking at our computer screens or on our phones and go out on our bikes into Mother Nature, where we see the birds fly, where it rains sometimes and where the sun is shining on other times, that's real and it's really amazing. I'm convinced it's a dose of reality, and it's a dose that we really, really need today more than ever. For those of us fortunate enough to own a motorcycle and have the ability to ride it, we are just truly blessed and should feel very grateful all the time. Finally, episode 39 from this past week, I must say I'm real happy with this one. To critique my own work, maybe I'm happy with this one. It was a shared story about feeling lost and confused, meeting a cowboy, a real cowboy out in the middle of nowhere. But most importantly, it was a reflection on how amazing the insights of Henry David Thoreau were from his writings way back in 1860s. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but what he said so amazingly matches to what many of us do, wandering around on our motorcycles. Yeah, that one really spoke to me, I think. So here we are with episode 40 during the week of Thanksgiving, and among many things I'm grateful for is this opportunity to spend time with you. I'm very grateful for those who listen and let me know that what they hear is sometimes meaningful. I'm certainly enjoying this experience, and if the stars align just right, we'll be back soon together with more thoughts and interviews on why this motorcycling thing that we do is just so awesome. Until we visit again, I wish you peace and I wish you love.